Today we got a fairly simple piece. I'm just going to walk you guys through the process of what I do to get this look down. One thing I cut was I've already went and got this font, um, the font for A Light of Life and the font for Home Care. So what I did was I opened up a second page. I took the entire bitmap and I scaled it down until I got to the portion of just the font that I want to get the font for. For example, I want the font for Home Care, so I adjusted the bitmap or the space around the bitmap to only show the Home Care. I went to File and I exported it and I saved it here. So I did that with both fonts. After I did that with the fonts, I went to the email. I went to the internet. I use a site called My Fonts. I went on My Fonts. I plugged in this bitmap image that I had that was covered just the font of Home Care, and it gives me fonts that match this font. So the way that I utilize this is I see the font that I want to pick. I'm not going to pay $12 for the font. So because of that, I have to go up here and in the sample, I type the word that I actually want it to say. So I'm going to type in Home Care. Home Care pops up at the bottom. I'm going to hit the print screen button on my computer, and that pops up the ability to take a screenshot. It's in picture mode. This crosshair lets me know that I'm selecting the area that I want to screenshot. After it selects the screenshot, I double click it. I'm going to copy and paste the screenshot and then put it inside Corel Draw. So you see now I have the word Home Care in the same font. So now we need A Light of Life. So I'm going to go back to the internet. I had already done the second font and found that to save time. It seems that I must do it again, so I will do this again. Go to the file. I'm going to drag this picture over. I tell it to identify this font. And as you can see, the second font is the one that matches up. Make sure I type the right thing, A Light of Life. Needs to be all caps. All right, so it's running off the page. I can make it a little smaller. And then I'm still going to go to print screen. So to give me the crosshairs, I select just this section because I don't want all that other stuff on the page. The screenshot pops up. I'm going to double click it, copy it, paste it inside of Corel Draw. Okay, so now I have my wording for both. Now I have my font for both of the words that are in this, which really are going to be the hardest part, if anything is hard about doing this piece of art. Now that I have this, I'm going to make it smaller. I convert it to bitmap so it'll capture the smaller size. So I just make it. I do that so it'll make it a simple trace. After I trace it, you see there are the results. We can drop that down. Now I'm saying on some of the ends, like of the T, it's not looking too good. Of the H, so it's not a clean trace. So sometimes when it's not a clean trace, you have to go in there and draw it yourself. I think it just depends on the font. It varies. Sometimes I get real clean traces, sometimes I don't. When I don't spend too much time trying to go back and forth and figure out ways to shortcut. I just draw it over. If it had made it quick and convenient for that to work, then I would have stuck with that way. But it wasn't, so I had to move on. The more you get used to drawing things too out of shapes, the easier it gets. So as you see, I'm kind of using the same shape to draw different portions of the T, and then I'll be able to use some of these shapes to draw the other letters of the alphabet that are in this phrase, because usually fonts have like-minded characteristics or similar characteristics, I would say. All right, so I got the T down. I'm gonna lock this so it doesn't move around. I'm using um, Control V to copy and paste, which is allowing me to use the same square over and over again, navigate. I'm holding down the shift button, so when I resize my square, it's doing the same thing on both ends, so it gives me symmetric sizing, making it easier to line it up. The reason I'm using a blue outline is just so I can see over the black. It could have been any color. I just find that for my eyes, it's easy to see this light blue over the black. Allows me to move faster, not have to move in and zoom in so closer, so often. So it's a time saver for me. Also, while I'm going through this font, any words that are any letters that are duplicated, I'm not going to create because I only have to make it once. So like I'm saying, the top of the E is similar from the bottom of the E. I'm gonna copy and paste that, flip it upside down, hold down shift so when I drag it down it doesn't move out of place and it stays what I like to call on the grid lined up. Then I just make my minor adjustments. The L and the E are very similar. And I'm just roughly laying down the shapes. There's going to be some fine tuning, of course. I can already tell by the other font, like the first font that we didn't have a lot of curves, and also it's really the little fins, like the this small part at the end and these small tips is what's hard for the computer to pick up and trace, which is what is really the reason why I have to do this font over to get the best resolution. I could have taken the I could have taken that trace and lined up each letter word for word. I mean each letter letter for letter until I got them right. But I've done art enough to know that I'm not that fast doing that versus what I'm doing now. So when I get to that wall and it doesn't work, I just trace it over. First, it used to take me forever. Somehow over time, I've just gotten better. Repetition. So what I'm doing with this one is it's a perfect circle. I built the parameters for the shape that I'm trying to make. I'm going to take the smart fill tool and then fill in the parts that I want to use to create the actual O. And then I'm going to weld them together. So now I'm welding together just these grayish, bluish looking shapes. So make sure I select all of them, hit the weld button. Now I have that O. T, a couple more letters. Got H over here. Again, I'm just using copy and paste to copy and paste these minor adjustments for the placement. Got an I already, so I don't need to do that. Got an L already, so I don't need to do that. Actually, I deleted my L by mistake because I did not copy and paste it. So let me go back and get the T, I mean the H, and use it to put it back to the top of my L. So now I have an L. Copy and paste the whole L, drag it over. Holding shift down so that the L remains on the grid, meaning that it's not going to slide up and down, it only slides over left and right. So I know that they're still at the same height. Same thing with the I. I have an I already, so I'm going to copy and paste this I, hold shift to slide it over. I'm zooming in to make sure my placement is good. It doesn't have to be exact because it's pixels, so like where it's blurry at and it's gray, I know that I made everything the same size, so visually to the eye, it's still gonna look good. Like if you back up, that's not even a fraction of an inch difference visually. So you know on the art, it's not gonna make a difference. Basically saying that it's closer than it's way smaller than it looks. But because I'm zoomed in so far, it could be like, oh, that's half an inch off, but that's not half an inch off actually. I'm zoomed in. So when I back up and I can see it in almost the size that it would be on a garment, I I noticed that it's um it's barely visible that it's not exactly on that line. So I'm good with that. The zero and the G or the O and the G are very similar. So I'm gonna make this O see through so I can see what I'm doing. Make some minor adjustments. holding shift when I'm moving that up, holding shift when I'm moving this down. That way it doesn't move off of the line. I'm going to use this square as a cutoff point, and you'll see what I'm saying in a minute. Use this for the bottom of the G, split up flat. And a little bit. Make another one, hold shift. Now, this shape, I'm going to turn into curves so that I can manipulate it more. So now when I double click it, instead of me just being able to round the edges, I can completely change the form of this shape. Before I convert it to curves, I can only make adjustments to the edge of the curve of the square. But after I turn it to curves, I can add what they call nodes, which are these dots that are allowing me to make curves or straight lines wherever I put them. So I'm going to convert that straight line to a curve so I can make that adjustment. Just getting a smooth trace of the bottom of that G. I'm going to bring this in some. Let's make this see-through so I can see what I'm doing. This see-through. So I use the Smart Fill tool to fill in all the parameters. And now I'm going to join these shapes together. I'm in the east side, y'all, so don't be too surprised. That's a little background noise going on. Alright, so I joined all those shapes together to create the G. That's probably the hardest one, as you see. And I got one more, and that's A for this word. Hold on.